Hi, today I'd like to show you how to make a mask that requires no sewing. This mask uses a heat seal around the edges to hold it together. The materials used are a regular cotton poly blend sheet on the outside and a non-woven polypropylene material on the inside. This material you probably have in your home. It's often found on these free giveaway bags, shopping bags. It's a soft material and it looks like it's woven, but it really isn't. It's a fibrous material. Some features of this design that I think make it better than other designs are that it actually holds a domed shape. You can see that the material is stiff enough to hold its shape, but the added pleats in it that are done on a curve allow the center to bunch up and stay bunched up, as opposed to the ones which are simply flat and pleated. This also has a wire nose bridge, which allows it to form over your nose and prevent your goggles from fogging up. The material, this non-woven polypropylene material, is quite breathable, so it's more comfortable when you're wearing it to breathe. This is a washable mask. However, I am not sure about the longevity of it, so you may not want to put it in the dryer and simply just wash it in hot water in the laundry machine and then hang it up. Here are the materials you need to make this mask. First, you'll need a sheet, either cotton poly blend or 100% cotton. This is the most important part of this project, so if you don't have this, don't bother to start. The third item that you need is some kind of ductile wire. This happens to be a copper 1.5 millimeter wire that is meant for bonsai. One option that I think is really good is double wire twist ties. There's two wires connected with plastic, and these are even pretty close to the right length. So I'm going to use this one in ours, but you can also use an 18 gauge wire. This is a double-stranded wire that you can peel back the outer layer and expose these two solid core wires, which are 18 gauge. These work too. Here are the tools you'll need: an iron, a marker, scissors, scrap piece of paper for making your pattern, a ruler, wire cutters, tape, and then these are optional, but these you could use to make a little jig for making the seam binding. It's 2 large paper clips and 4 pins of pretty much any sort. Before starting this project, you'll want to do a test to make sure that your iron gets hot enough and that your materials work together. Use 2 pieces of the materials that you plan to use. Sandwich the polypropylene material between 2 layers of your sheet material, and then put your iron on at its hottest temperature and let it sit there for 30 seconds. What you should see is the material should start to seep through the sheet a little bit. You can see the outline of the polypropylene material underneath, and we can check and see that it's sealed. You often have to do both sides. This happens to be fairly well sealed, at least on the top. On the back, not as much, so we'll flip it over and do it on this side as well. You can look and see how good of a seal is by trying to pull on this material. I'm pulling quite hard here. To start, you need to have a scrap piece of paper that is 8.5 by 11, and you want to make it into a square. Fold it. From here, we're going to fold it in quarters. You want to mark on the corner here that has the 4 folded points, 1 inch by 1 inch. And you're going to draw a straight line to the edge. And from here you're going to draw an arc from this point to the very edge of the paper and just a slight curve to it. Like that. Then we'll cut it out. Here is your pattern. Positioning this on the fabric, it probably doesn't matter how you position it. However, materials tend to stretch a little more on the bias, that means the diagonal. So I would try to line it up either this way or this way. Normally I would use pins, but in this case I'm just going to use tape because everybody probably has some tape, and then I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to modify the pattern a little bit. You can do this either by just folding in the edges like so, or it's easier, I think, just to cut them off. So I'm going to go back to our folded in quarters here, and I'm going to fold this so that 1 inch of that edge is folded up, and just cut that off. By the way, do not throw away the handles because you can use these. We're using this stuff like glue, so these long strips of the handles are useful, so keep those. So first I'm going to just cut this out larger than I need. Now, by the way, don't iron it to get these creases out. That would be a big mistake. Start by giving this a quick iron. Fold in the edges here and iron those as well. Same thing on the other side. Alright, now we're going to take our non-woven polyethylene and pick the side that you want to be the inside of the mask. So I like this smooth side. And you're going to slide that under. This is going to go like that, and this is going to go like that. So line up the edges as best you can, and our first fusing of this material is going to be these 2 long edges. Alright, I have iron on as hot as it'll go, and I have steam. I'm going to very carefully position the iron so that it does not touch the black at all. That's for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want to put a hole in my mask, and 2, I don't want to mess up my iron too much. And then I'm going to just let it sit for about 30 seconds. It takes a little bit longer than you think in order to melt this material. And I'm going to check it. You might just let it cool down for a moment, have a chance to fully fuse. You can start to see it leaking through a little bit. See that dark there? Now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side in the same spot. And you'll just have to get a feel for this. Now, right there, see how it leaked through to my iron on that. Get some piece of clean scrap material and wipe it off. And then when you continue to iron it, get a piece of scrap material and cover that spot a little bit so that you don't accidentally hit it again. Now, one thing to be really careful of is you don't want to iron anywhere except the edges. So I actually be careful when you use a scrap that you don't think, oh, I could just iron the whole thing. I've caught myself almost doing that several times. So I'm just going to put this right over where I want to iron. And you have to take your time on this. It takes longer than regular ironing, but you'll know when you've got it because you'll have a really bonded melted seal here, and you can't move it. That's just moisture from the steam. Oh, and then I leak through again. Check my iron right there. Okay. Now we'll go to the other side. Making sure that my protection is only where I want to iron so that I don't go beyond that edge. Now we'll check and see. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more in the center there. There. The next piece of sheet material you're going to need are what you make the straps out of. And this is a 35 to 40 inch long piece of material. You actually need 2 of them, 2 1/4 inches wide, but you can make it 2 inches wide if you want to. The other thing you can use is just regular seam binding if you happen to have that. To set up your seam binding jig, you need 2 paper clips that have a slightly shortened bend in them. This I've bent to be the same width of the seam binding that I want to fold. And the other one is the same. So when they're set up properly, they're going to go into the material like so. And then you can pull the material through this way. And the trick is to get it adhered to your ironing board so that it doesn't move. What I found is just using several pins in different directions worked pretty well. Oops. Delicate. There. And then you can pull this through like that and iron it. Alright, the next step is to make the pleats. And actually, before you do that, you want to decide which is going to be your top. And the reason you want to know the top is that, in general, the pleats on the outside are pointing down, kind of like, you know, roof shingles. In general, like this being the top of the mask and this being the bottom. What you want to do is put in 2 pleats. They do not have to be exactly the same size, but it looks nicer if they are symmetric. So what I would do is do one side that you like and then measure it and copy it on the other side. Note that this curve becomes less of a curve and more like a straight line now that you're bunching this up and making it cupped in the middle. Right there. Okay. You can measure that and copy it on the other side. So we've got, hey, pretty good, 7/8. So that's what we'll use. 7/8, 7/8. 1 3/4, 7/8, 7/8. But yours can be different. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it on this side. To iron this, I'm going to iron first the 2 creases of the folds. Whoa! So there. You can really see how that one sealed on top at least. And look, on the bottom as well. Oh. Here we go, now again getting my iron messed up. Now here you can see that it's sealed together, but it didn't quite seal this top piece there. That's okay, we'll get that later. Let's go ahead and duplicate it on the other side. Like that. Double check that you've got the same length going here. Do this one. Now double check everything. Looks equal. Let's get ready to put on our ties. We want to trim this up and make it nice and even. Position it the way that you want it, and then let's get out the scissors and let's trim it. We made this long piece. I'm going to cut it in half. Now we need to mark the center of our strap. So I'm folding it in half, and I have my finger where I want it marked, but I'm going to mark it on the inside of this so it doesn't show. You can lay this in the center. All right, that looks pretty good. You can feel it starts to kind of stiffen up a little too. Now it's really important to get these corners as good as you can, because that's where the tension's going to be when you wear it. Now before we do the other side, we need to put in our nose bridge. All right, here's our Starbucks nose bridge. And this side is sealed, so we'll put it in on this side. Now, this top layer is sealed down, but luckily you have 2 layers, so you put it in between these 2 layers like that. See, I'm bunching it up, pushing it through. Oops. To get it centered. So, not quite, almost. I think that's good. All right, got that nose piece in. Now we're going to trim off this side. Okay, so you need to go around and double check everything. Make sure you didn't miss any spots or some aren't sealed all the way. Check both sides, check the pleats. This looks pretty good. Go around here, check that. This one could be a little better, so I'll do that. I'll seal that some more right here. Here's our mask.